If you are over 65, there is one single food your body now needs more desperately than at any other point in your entire life. And here's the tragedy. It's the exact food most seniors are eating the least of. Not because they're careless, not because they don't try, but because for decades they were quietly told the opposite of the truth. I'm not going to make you wait until the very end to find out what it is, because that's a cheap trick and you deserve better. I'll name it clearly in just a moment. But I'm asking you to stay with me the whole way through, because knowing the food is almost useless without knowing the three things that come after it. How much you actually need, which is far more than you think. Why your body suddenly demands it after 65, which is fascinating and almost nobody explains. And the simple way to get enough without changing your whole life. Miss those, and the food alone won't help you. Get them, and you could hold on to your strength and your independence for years longer than you otherwise would. And near the end, I'll give you the one warning, the single group of people who should not follow this advice without speaking to their doctor first. If that's you, you must hear it. So don't drift off. Let me start by painting a picture you might recognize, because I want you to know this video is about you, specifically. It's the jar of pickles you can't quite open anymore, so you set it on the counter and wait for someone to come by. It's the way you've started reaching for the handrail on the stairs, when a few years ago you'd have bounded up without a thought. It's that little push off the armrests you now need to rise from your favorite chair. It's the grandchild you'd love to lift up, but you hesitate because you're not quite sure your arms will hold. It's carrying the groceries in 2 trips now, where you used to do 1. And every single time, you tell yourself the same 3 words, just getting old. But what if a large part of that, more than you'd ever guess, isn't age at all? What if it's a shortage? A slow, silent, daily shortage of the one food we're about to talk about, running quietly in the background of your life for years, stealing your strength one small piece at a time while you blame the calendar? That food is protein. There it is. No games. The one food your body needs more than ever after 65 is protein. And I already know what some of you are thinking. Protein? That's it? I eat protein. I have chicken. I have eggs sometimes. This doesn't apply to me. Please, please stay with me. Because that reaction, that exact reaction, is the trap. It's the reason this problem is so widespread and so invisible. Nearly everyone believes they eat enough protein. And the research shows that after 65, most people are getting nowhere near what their aging body actually requires. The gap between what you think you're getting and what you truly need is where your strength is quietly disappearing. So let me prove it to you, and let me start with the number, because the number is genuinely shocking. There is an official protein recommendation, one you may have heard, one your doctor might have mentioned, one built into the nutrition advice all around you. And modern science now suggests that for a healthy adult over 65, that official number is too low by roughly 40%. 40%. Not a tiny miss. Nearly half again as much as you've been told. Imagine being underpaid by 40% your whole life and never knowing it. That's what's been happening to your muscles at the dinner table. To understand how we got here, you have to understand where that old number came from. And this is the part that will make you angry in the best possible way, because it hands you the truth. The official recommendation is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. It sounds precise and scientific. But here's what almost nobody tells you. That figure was never designed to keep you strong. It was calculated as the bare minimum, the floor, the least amount of protein needed to stop a healthy young adult from sliding into outright deficiency. It answers the question, what's the least I can survive on? It was never meant to answer the question you actually care about. What do I need to stay strong and independent? Those are 2 completely different questions with 2 completely different answers. And for decades, seniors were handed the answer to the wrong one and told it was the answer to the right one. There's a second flaw, too, sitting right beside the first. That number was set the same for everyone. A 25-year-old and a 75-year-old told to eat the identical amount per pound, as if the body of a senior handles protein exactly like the body of a young adult. And it does not. Not even close. Which brings us to the most important thing you'll learn today. the reason your body's needs change after 65. It's a phenomenon scientists call anabolic resistance. Don't let the term scare you. Let me make it simple and unforgettable. Anabolic means building, specifically muscle building. Resistance means your body resists doing it. Together, anabolic resistance means that as you age, your muscles become stubborn. They stop responding to protein the way they used to. Here's the picture I want you to carry for the rest of your life. Imagine your muscles have ears, and protein is a voice, calling out to them at every meal, saying, "Wake up, build, repair, stay strong." When you were 30, those ears were sharp as a hawk's. The faintest whisper of protein and your muscles snapped to attention and got to work. It was effortless. But as the years pass, those ears grow hard of hearing. Now that same whisper, that same modest amount of protein that used to work beautifully, isn't enough. Your muscles barely stir. To get the very same response you got for free in your 30s, you now have to shout. You have to send significantly more protein just to be heard. Now think about the cruelty of the timing. At precisely the age when your muscles have grown hard of hearing and need you to shout, the old guideline is telling you nothing has changed. Keep whispering. So millions of seniors go on whispering to ears that can no longer hear them, meal after meal, year after year, wondering why they're slowly getting weaker. And when the shout never comes, your muscles begin to waste away. There's a medical word for this: sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss. And I need you to understand with total clarity that this is not about vanity. This is not about looking fit or fitting into old clothes. Sarcopenia is one of the single greatest threats to your independence that exists, and here's exactly why. Muscle is what catches you when you stumble on an uneven sidewalk, turning what could be a devastating fall and a broken hip into a quick, harmless stagger. Muscle is what powers you up out of a chair, in and out of a car, up a flight of stairs. Muscle is what lets you carry your own groceries, lift your own laundry, hold your own grandchild. Muscle is, quite literally, the physical foundation of living life on your own terms, in your own home, without having to ask for help. When you lose muscle, you don't just get a little weaker. You start losing your freedom, one small ability at a time. First, the jar, then the stairs, then the chair. Then the moment comes when someone gently suggests that maybe living alone isn't safe anymore. And a huge, well-documented driver of that entire downward slide is something as simple, as fixable, as heartbreakingly preventable as not eating enough protein. I know that's heavy. So let me lift it right back up, because here is the wonderful news. This is one of the most reversible problems in all of aging. Your muscles are stubborn now, yes, but they are not deaf. They are still listening. They're just waiting for you to speak up. And the moment you do, they answer. So let's make sure you know exactly how loud to speak. Let me give you the real science now, the actual studies, so you never have to just take my word for it, or anyone's. The first major body of evidence comes from an international group of researchers and doctors called the Prot Age Study Group. This wasn't one small experiment. This was a panel of experts who reviewed the entire mountain of research on protein and aging and then issued formal recommendations. Their conclusion was clear, and it directly contradicts the old floor. Healthy older adults, they said, should be eating between 1.0 and 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, considerably more than 0.8. And for older adults who are ill, recovering from surgery, or managing a chronic disease, they recommended more still, between 1.2 and 1.5 grams. Because illness burns through your protein reserves, and if you don't replace them, your body starts breaking down your own muscle to survive, at the exact moment you can least afford to lose it. Now, for those of you who want hard measurement, not just expert opinion, the story gets even stronger. That old 0.8 figure was based on a crude, decades-old method called nitrogen balance studies. But modern researchers developed a far more precise technique called indicator amino acid oxidation. You don't need to remember the name. You just need to know it measures your body's true protein needs with far greater accuracy than the old method ever could. And when scientists used this superior tool to measure the real protein requirements of older men and women, they landed at about 1.2 grams per kilogram per day. And then they wrote the sentence that should be printed on every senior's refrigerator. They noted that this figure is roughly 40% higher than the current official recommendation. Let that land. The most precise modern measurement we have says older adults need about 40% more protein than the guideline still tells them to eat. And that guideline is still the one on the package, still the one quoted in the rushed 12-minute appointment, still the one trusted by the very people it's failing. And every other line of evidence points the same direction. Research on seniors who already have muscle loss found their needs were higher still, around 1.5 grams per kilogram. A feeding study on adults aged 70 to 85, where researchers actually controlled what people ate and measured the results, found that 1.5 grams per kilogram protected muscle better than either 0.8 or even 1.2. Notice the direction of every single finding. The expert panel says more. The precise measurements say more, about 40% more. The muscle loss research says more still. The feeding trials say more. Not one credible modern study points back toward that old floor for older adults. Every arrow points up, and yet the low number is the one still guiding millions of seniors straight into weakness. So let's stop talking in generalities and get you your number. Right now. Grab a pen or just follow along. This takes 10 seconds, and it might be the most useful math you do all year. Step 1. Take your weight in pounds and divide it by 2.2. That gives you your weight in kilograms, which is what the research uses. Step 2. Multiply that kilogram number by 1.2. The result is your daily protein target, in grams, as a healthy older adult. Let me do a real one, so there's zero confusion. Say you weigh 165 pounds. Divide by 2.2, and you get about 75. So you're roughly 75 kilograms. Multiply 75 by 1.2, and you get 90. 90 grams of protein a day. Now here's the part that stings. Under the old 0.8 guideline, that same 165-pound person would have been aiming for only about 60 grams. 60 versus 90. A gap of 30 grams of protein every single day that your body was quietly begging for and the old number was quietly withholding. 30 grams a day, stretched across months and years, is the slow, silent erosion of the very muscle keeping you upright and independent. So the real question becomes, how do you actually eat 90 grams of protein a day when your breakfast has been a slice of toast and a cup of coffee? It can sound impossible. It isn't. And there are a few simple principles that make it genuinely easy. So stay with me, because this is where knowledge becomes power. The first principle is the most important, and it surprises almost everyone. Spread your protein across the day. Do not try to cram it all into dinner. Here's why this matters so much, and it ties right back to those hard-of-hearing muscles. Because your aging muscles need a bigger shout to respond, each meal needs to carry a real, meaningful dose of protein, roughly 25 to 40 grams, to actually flip the muscle-building switch. Anything less at a meal, and the switch may not flip at all. Now here's the mistake nearly every senior makes. They eat almost no protein at breakfast, a little at lunch, and then pile it all onto dinner. And your body can't store that dinner surplus for later. It can't take tomorrow's breakfast shortfall and cover it with tonight's leftover steak. So a senior eating that way might send only one clear muscle-building signal all day at dinner. One shout out of 3 possible. But take that same total protein and spread it evenly across 3 meals, and now each meal crosses the threshold. Now you flip that muscle-building switch 3 separate times a day instead of once. The exact same amount of food, 3 times the muscle-building signal. That one change, all by itself, can transform your results. So let's build a real day of eating, and you'll see how doable 90 grams actually is. Breakfast is where most seniors have the biggest hole and the biggest opportunity. Toast and coffee might give you 5 grams of protein, nowhere near the threshold. So let's fix it. 3 eggs give you about 18 grams. Add a container of Greek yogurt, and now you're over 30. Or scramble those eggs with a little cheese. Add some cottage cheese on the side. Just like that, You've gone from a 5-gram breakfast that does nothing for your muscles to a 30-gram breakfast that flips the switch first thing in the morning. For most people, this single change, fixing breakfast, is the biggest leap they'll ever make. At lunch, build the meal around the protein rather than treating it as a side. A palm-sized piece of chicken, fish, or a can of tuna gives you 25 to 30 grams. Add beans or lentils and you're comfortably there. At dinner, you're probably already doing fine, a piece of meat or fish. But now you don't need to overload it because you've been banking protein all day long. And if you get hungry between meals, reach for protein instead of crackers or cookies. A boiled egg, a handful of nuts, a piece of cheese, a glass of milk. Each one is another quiet deposit toward your daily number. Now, I know some of you struggle with appetite because that's a very real part of getting older. The hunger just isn't what it was. If that's you, hear this clearly. A protein shake is a completely legitimate meal, not a shortcut or a cheat. A scoop of whey protein, or a soy or pea blend if you avoid dairy, mixed with milk, can deliver 30 grams or more in a single glass that slides down easily on a morning when a full plate feels like too much. When your appetite says no to food, a glass can still say yes. There is no shame in it. It counts. So there's your whole strategy, and notice how simple it really is. You don't have to become an athlete. You don't have to live on plain chicken breast. You just have to change one question. At every meal, instead of asking, "What am I in the mood for?" ask, "Where's my protein here?" and build the plate around the answer. Protein first. Do that, and 90 grams stops being a mountain and becomes just how you eat. Now, I promised you the most important warning in this entire video, and here it is. Please listen closely, because for some of you, this is the part that matters most. Everything I've told you today is for healthy older adults. But if you have kidney disease, or you've been told your kidney function is reduced, this advice is not automatically yours. When your kidneys are already struggling, a sudden increase in protein can put extra strain on them, and the right amount for you may be different, sometimes lower, and it needs to be set by your doctor, who can see your blood work and knows your body. So if you have any kidney condition, do not go start eating 40% more protein because a video told you to. Instead, take everything you learned today, take this research, and bring it to your doctor. Ask them plainly, given my kidneys, what is the right protein target for me? That one question, asked before you change anything, is exactly how you get the benefit safely instead of causing yourself harm. And frankly, that's wise for anyone. Nothing here is a reason to overhaul your whole diet overnight without a word to the people who look after your health. It's a reason to walk into your next appointment informed and prepared, holding real questions, instead of trusting a number that the science left behind years ago. So let me bring this all the way home, because I want you to leave with more than a list of facts. I want you to leave with a piece of your power back in your own hands. For years, perhaps, you've watched yourself slowly weaken and filed all of it under those same 3 words. Just getting old. The jar. The stairs. The chair. The grandchild you hesitate to lift. You assumed it was the unavoidable price of the years, a road that only goes one way. But now you know that a real and significant piece of that story may never have been about age at all. It may have been about a shortage, an outdated number, mistaken for a target, quietly starving your muscles while you did everything you were told to do. And that is not your fault. You followed the guidance you were given, faithfully, the way a careful and responsible person does. The guidance was simply years behind the science. But you are not behind it anymore. As of today, you understand protein and aging better than most people ever will, including, I'm sorry to say, many of the sources still repeating that tired old number. You know where it came from and why it's far too low. You understand anabolic resistance and why your body demands more now, not less. You know your own number, calculated on your own body. You know how to reach it, spread across your day, starting with breakfast. And you know the one caveat that keeps it safe. Here's the truth I most want you to hold on to. Muscle can still be built at 70. It can still be built at 80. Your body has not given up on you. Those stubborn muscles are not deaf, they're just waiting, and they have been waiting a long time for you to finally speak up loudly enough for them to hear. And beginning with your very next meal, you can. Not someday, your next meal. So here's what I'll ask of you. If this gave you even one thing that nobody ever bothered to explain properly, please do two quick things. Hit that like button, because it truly does help this reach the next senior who's slowly losing strength while faithfully following a number that's failing them. And subscribe, because I dig into the real research and give you the honest answer, not the loudest one and not the most convenient one. And most of all, share this with someone you love who's over 65, especially if you've watched them grow a little more frail, a little less steady this past year or two. This one idea and one changed breakfast could genuinely help them keep their strength and their independence for years longer. That share could matter more than you know. Now, there's one more piece to this, and it's so important that I have to show it to you next, because knowing your number is only half the answer. Here's the catch nobody warns you about. Not all protein is equal. Two foods can show the exact same number of grams right there on the label and do completely different things inside your aging muscles. One of them carries enough of a hidden key ingredient to flip that muscle building switch. The other quietly falls short, and you'd never know it from the package. Next time, I'll show you exactly which proteins truly work after 65 and which ones have been letting you down all along. You will not want to miss it. I'll see you there.